New cameras and a beefier processor are all the rage in this year's Pixel. But if you have last year's slab, how much are your happy snaps suffering by holding on to it? I mean, from a practical standpoint, the short answer is of course, not much. It's only been a year after all. But if you are addicted to the shiny stuff, there are a number of areas where the 8 Pro differs from its older sibling. First off, the biggest difference is the colour temperature, with the 8 Pro taking much warmer shots, which aligns more to the older 6 Pro before the 7 Pro got a bit too cool. The warmer tones just feel truer and more welcoming, but there were occasions where the 7 Pro would swing the other way and come out warmer than even the 8 Pro, but not often. Images also tend to be a bit darker on the 8 Pro, in that it preserves shadows much better, choosing to keep the scene truer to life rather than over brightening. This really stood out when looking at the depth in the trees. One of the more significant hardware changes this year is the bigger aperture across all lenses. One of the benefits of this is that shots will have a smaller depth of field, giving photos a touch more of that natural background blur. Depending on what you're capturing, it can make things look a little more dramatic, but sometimes it's not really obvious enough, and can just make things look accidentally out of focus. The real bonus to the bigger aperture though, is being able to collect more light in lower lighting conditions. This meant I was able to use the 8 Pro to continue to get quick, crisp shots without needing to wait on a long exposure, and still look great. Once both devices went into long exposure mode though, images looked comparable, other than the 8 Pro continuing to hold on to shadows better. In general, the 8 Pro really just felt like it nailed trickier lighting conditions more consistently, suffered from less lens flares, and had an overall easier time focusing in weird lighting. But this wasn't always the case. On the subject of consistency, another nice benefit of the 8 Pro is more consistent detail between all lenses, with both the ultra-wide and telephoto getting a boost in megapixels to align with the main lens. They do of course get pixel bins down to the same resolution as the 7 Pro, but you get the detail and low light benefits that come with that for some of those trickier shots. The upgrades to the ultra-wide also filter into macro mode, feeling a bit more useful this year. We're now able to get even closer to the subject than before and see a lot more background blur, making things pop significantly. But you do need to be a bit more careful about where the focus lands. The final improvement is due to the slight bump in processing power, where some of the computational shots look a touch better, like 30 times zoom, but not always. And portrait mode finding the edges inferred a little better. Neither are super impactful without getting in close anyway. So do you feel these upgrades are enough to spring for an 8 Pro? Some final considerations are the inclusion of Ultra HDR and manual Pro controls. Both look to only be software locked, so maybe they'll filter down one day. Overall, with how often the 7 Pro matched the 8 Pro, you really can't go too wrong with either.